So, I've been rereading The War of Jokes and Riddles. And by rereading, my girlfriend got it for me as a late Valentine's Day gift. And she got me the whole trade because... Did you guys know how fucking hard it is to find this comic? Seriously, Batman The War of Jokes and... Like, I can easily find I Am Gotham, I Am Suicide, and I Am Bane, and a good majority of other comics in the Tom King Batman run. Not that I want to. But, like, War of Jokes and Riddles is like a fucking white whale, and I don't know why that is. It's a good book, don't get me wrong, but, like, Jesus! How? Like, how in the flying fuck is that book, like, so hard to find? But, however, as I reread it, I thought it would be kind of... Like, I had this thought. What if Spider-Man had his own War of Jokes and Riddles? Like, what would it be like if a not so much Joker and Riddler showed up in Gotham and just had the War of Jokes and Riddles over again? But what if the War of Jokes and Riddles happened... A War of Jokes and Riddles, a version of it, happened between all of his Spider-Man... all of his villains. Like, what if his villains had their own War of Jokes and Riddles, but it would be called something else? And basically that's what this video is here to talk about. This video is basically a fun idea. Not so much fan fiction idea, but more like, what would it be like if all of Spider-Man's villains had a civil war? And what would that be like to an effect on him, as well as an effect on the city of New York and the other superheroes? So let's talk about it. So first off, who are the two factions? Like, who would I have as the two major factions of this Civil War? Well, it's obviously the big two. It's the big two Spider-Man villains, Ock and Osborn. It's Octavius and Green Goblin. Obviously, they're Spider-Man's two biggest villains. I know people are going to say, but what about Venom? What about Venom? Yeah, what about Venom? Yeah, it's from day one, it has always been Ock and Osborn. And yes, I know that for this to work, Osborn can't be... Ugh, I'm so stuffed up. I'm sorry I keep snuffling, I just got the schniffles. Yeah, for this to work, like, we're taking the Gold Goblin thing out, so it's Green Goblin all the way. So what would this story be like? Like, how would this go? Well, obviously, I think Octavius would go to Osborn and be like, hey, I want to kill Spider-Man, you want to kill Spider-Man, we're like his two biggest enemies, we could just forget the Sinister Six, I'm sure we can think of something, and Osborn, being the crazy fuck he is, would just throw a pumpkin bomb in Octavius's face, and Octavius would be like, that motherfucker. So, the big question is, this isn't like, and I know, backtracking, and I should have mentioned this earlier, yes, I know there was kind of a War of Jokes and Riddles, kind of, in Spider-Man with the Sinister War. But that comic literally did jack all with the premise of having all of Spider-Man's rogues making Sinister Six teams to fight each other, and it literally did jack all with the concept. So yeah, we're gonna do that right with Sinister War. Anyway, so in here, who could I see working on which side? Like, which side would join Octavius and which side would join the Green Goblin? So I think it would be that Octavius tries to get the Sinister Six. That would be the first thing. He's like, I'm going to get the Sinister Six together. I'm going to get the boys back, and we're just going to gang up on Osborn. However, I would have it that Osborn's like, yeah, I planned that, so I paid off some of the members to join my side. And that leads to Octavius trying to get creative. So who could I see on each side? Well, it's a little difficult because I think each villain... Like, there are some villains you're like, wow, some people went with the Joker. That person... Like, Mr. Freeze went to the Joker side. Deadshot went to Joker side, probably because he got paid. But, yeah, there were several characters where you're like, you joined Joker? Okay, and you joined Riddler? Like, did you really think, like, was anyone, like, surprised to see Mr. Zsasz and Scarecrow on Riddler's side? I would have switched, Freeze out, Freeze and, well, Freeze and maybe someone else, and traded, Mr. Zsasz on Joker's side. But anyway, so, yeah. So I would say that for a few characters to who would go to who, I would say Carnage goes to Osborn, Venom goes to Octavius, Hobgoblin goes to Octavius too, because he's not working with Norman. Yeah, Roger Kingsley in no way, shape, or form is working with Norman. I would say Kraven would go to Osborn, and I would say, like, why Kraven chooses Osborn is because Kraven would be like, this is going to be the hunt of all hunts, and Osborn promises me, many trophies, and he promises I can be unbound. Like, he won't be like Osborn would promise Kraven, hey, I'm going to let you hunt on your own terms, not like Ock, who gives you all the orders. I would say Sandman would choose Octavius, and he'd be like, you're an asshole, Ock, but Norman's fucking crazy. So Sandman would be on Octavius' side. I would say... that's the thing, like, I wouldn't have... all the goblins would be divvied up, too. Same with the symbiotes. Where the symbiotes would be like, some symbiotes go to Norman, some symbiotes go to Octavius' side. And that's the thing, like, if I was to do this as a whole story, this would involve every Spider-Man villain you ever had. I would even bring up, maybe as like the Kite Man of this story, the Kangaroo. I would probably have the Kangaroo as our Kite Man. The Kangaroo? Hell yeah, mate. Oh god, I'm an idiot. Anyway. So, obviously, having all of Spider-Man's villains fighting through New York is obviously going to take a mental toll on Peter. He's, he already has trouble fighting 6 people. How do you think it's going to be like having all of his villains warring it out on each other on the streets of New York, one of the most congested cities ever? How do you... and obviously, Peter already has a guilt complex of, letting people die, so... the more people die in this war, the more he's just gonna feel like, I failed! Every death would be, he would personally feel it the entire time. All he would feel is just the agony of I wasn't there to save that person, or save this kid, from just the absolute madness that all of my villains are bringing out. So that would be one way. And you may be thinking, well, if New York, the entirety of New York is at war, is the battleground, all of the superheroes show up. Yeah. And that's true. You would obviously have the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, you have Daredevil, you have Moon Knight, you have a lot of characters out there. Here's the thing. Spider-Man's had a lot of villains. And a lot of villains can be everywhere, and a lot of them are underrated, powerhouses. So, that's the thing, is that Spider-Man has a long storied career of villains, and if this story involved all the villains, it would be an army, a literal army at war, and all the superheroes would be like, this is what Spider-Man has to deal with all the time? These chuckle fucks running around on a daily basis? How the fuck does he do this? And that's the thing. I think Spider-Man has that many villains. And you maybe say, oh, really? He has that? Yeah. Spider-Man has that many villains. A lot of them D-list, but still. So, yeah. A lot of these superheroes in New York would be stretched thin trying to contain the war, while at the same time I could definitely see Spider-Man, trying to contain the... damage, trying to be on point and lead this just absolute insanity that's going on in his city. That's how I pretty much see it. So, yeah, this would be a lot of fun. hell of a lot better than what Sinister War was, I can tell you that. But yeah. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you think it would be like if there was a villain civil war among Spider-Man's villains, or whatever the hell I'm going to call this? Like, what if the War of Jokes and Riddles happened in New York? How would that go? Who do you think whose side would be on who would be on whose side in this war? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.